Hi, Sakem Tua.
Rahul, go ahead.
Rahubat. I'm learning a little bit Miss Batia. Uh, and any tips of you can give me when I'm learning? On the class, they said it's good to try to have someone I could talk to, like a friend. So should I, some tips, things I could learn
Sure,
about,
sure,
and
sure. That's
yeah.
the best question for today because the master, well, again, it's not a competition, right? I'm just saying that because of what I'm about to say. The master teacher has said to us that 95 or maybe 99% of our problems and issues are because we're speaking this foreign language. And if we learn the language, that will solve most of our problems because the tones, the vibrations of the language actually help to recalibrate us. And there are certain tones that, because English, which is really a dialect, was by design. Every letter, every tone is by design, and it has an effect on you. So learning the language is so important. To give you some tips, I'm not a master of the language either. I'm learning just like everybody else. But the way the master teacher teaches us in the Parlahej, the language of time, Shalel Wakut, he says you can learn the language for different reasons. So, for example, conversational language, like just learning the words to be able to speak to somebody, you can do that very quickly. So you just replace words that you say every day. So if you're always saying to somebody every day in your vocabulary, you're going to say thank you, then you just replace that one word or two words with the words in Miss Batia. And that's for conversational, so that next time somebody gives you something, you want to say thank you, you're just going to use the Miss Batia word instead. The way that, so that's conversational. So things like you say every day, like you might say good morning for those who still say good morning, you might say that every day. So you replace that. You might say, how are you? You replace that. So when you're speaking to somebody, it's easy to have a conversation because you say rahubat. They say rahubat, which means greetings. Then you might say kayef athir anta, how are you, right? Kayef, or shall I say, the R's, there are certain tones that you have to use your tongue. You roll the tongue with the R's, like rahubat. There are certain tones. So when you start to learn the language, each letter, each pronunciation, each word, there's some letters that you have to practice to get them right. Like ha, ha. That type of tone comes from the throat. So the tips are learn to write it, learn to read it, and learn to speak it at the same time. Have objectives. If you're able to, you can put labels on things around your house, like door, so that every time you're looking at the door, you open the door, you can learn the word for that. And yeah, speaking it is the best way because young people or children who speak other languages, or even yourself, how you learn a language wasn't by really getting a book and reading it. It was more of building a vocabulary. So you would listen to the tone from somebody else saying it, and then you start saying it. So babies, children would listen to their parents, and they'll start saying mama, dada, and then they start building a vocabulary. And a vocabulary is just adding more and more words that you learn. It's like even if you're studying music or anything, it's about building a vocabulary. So the more you build your vocabulary, the more you use. So I'll give you one last example before we take on this call. Always try to extend what you're saying. So for example, if you wanted, if you said, yeah, like for example, how are you? You say, how are you? And then you say the person's full name. So if you were saying, how am I, asking me, you might say, Kayef Athir Antak Saken Sakamreye. You keep adding words. Think of words you can add to the sentence to extend it. So if you said, how are you? Someone might say, how are you? And you say, I am good. Yeah. So you say, Anuki kawas. Then you could stop there and say, Anuki kawas, or you can say, I am good. Thank you. How are you? The name of the person this day. You see? So then you'll be like, Anuki kawas tawat amun nabab gabab ak K or kayef atir antak panen zamut. So what I'm saying, you try to extend the conversation. Don't just say, how are you? I'm okay. And you leave it there. I'm okay. How are you? What are you doing today? And then you kind of carry on with the conversation. I think I've lost the caller. Or is it? No. Okay, cool. Let's go. I hope that helped. But join the language groups, get the book, speak to people. But the best way to learn is to speak. Hey, Rahubat, Zamaltat.
Greetings.